Hey, it's Biddy Penny, and I joined the Oh So Inspired collaboration team. This month, we are being inspired by Leslie Miller of Running with Scissors. And the collaboration team is so much fun, you guys, for Oh So Inspired. It's hosted by Call Me Crafty Al. These are the supplies that I'm using to make two cards today. This is the sand embossing powder from Hero Arts. I always love it when I'm making an ocean card. So I'm going to grab some watercolor paper. I'm going to cut this down to 4 3/4 by 6 3/4 for two 5 by 7 cards. So for Oh So Inspired, we can take anything from the card to be inspired by the layout, the colors, maybe the subject matter, just whatever. And so I was really inspired by the layout. I loved that there was all this detail on one side of the card. So I wanted to play on that in two ways. I'm using my watercolor and I'm doing a wet on wet technique so that I can use my little air puffer and get a spread. I wanted it just to resemble splashes of water. On this side, I just wet less than half of the card and am doing more wet on wet here, and I'm creating a water line, like ocean tide waves coming up on the seashore. So that is definitely some inspiration that I pulled from the card, but then I took it in a whole nother direction, and I wanted it, instead of florals to be ocean inspired. So here I found that with these fine die cuts, it's easier to color them up if I pop them back into the paper that I cut them out of. I'm using Copic markers here. This is Warm 1, 3, and 5. And I am just getting a little bit of detail. I went in with my lightest color first, and then my medium tone, and now my darker tone. I'm just hitting really specific sections here. I'm doing a lot less work with the darkest color than I did with the other two. And I just love the detail that added. And now I'm going to add one die cut layer behind it to make it a little thicker and more sturdy. And then the third die cut piece, I'm going to offset. And when I do that, I have to trim off his neck and then his legs as well. And then I will glue these pieces together. So follow the hashtag in the title of this video. Also look down in my description box. There is a playlist for all of the collaboration teams so you can see the things that they have made and how they're inspired by this month's card. I'm really excited to be a part of this. I really love Oh So Inspired. The lives that Alicia does on her Call Me Crafty Al YouTube channel. I've been a guest a few times and I just love it. And so I could not resist the opportunity to join this team as well. I'm showing you here that it never really matters what colors I'm coloring with. If you don't have the colors I have, don't worry, grab any color. So I decided to color up the grass in two different kinds of markers, two different colorways of markers, just to hopefully inspire you to use what you have and love what you have in your stash. And if you need a green, just grab the greens that you have. Okay, this honeybee die set, you guys, I've had it for a year and never used it, but I knew that I would. I love seashells and I like layering dies, and these are super easy. Now I wanted to leave this part in because on my first go with this first shell, I colored, you can tell, like the whole piece of the die cut. And once I layered them up like this, I realized I didn't need to do that. I could save ink and just color the portion that's going to show. So for each of my seashells, I figured out what portion was going to show, and I just colored that to save ink because my Copics dry up super fast. I've never heard anyone else talk about that, but my Copics dry up so fast. So I'm trying to conserve their ink if I can. And they look the same. I made sure to go ahead and color the edges as well. Okay, this is an embossing dauber from Tim Holtz, and I love it. It's just perfect for moments like this where I wanted to do that waterline, that edge. But then on the rest of this, I'm bringing in my regular big embossing pad and doing that. I wanted this whole area to be the beachy shoreline. And now I'm using this sand embossing powder. And with this, you don't want to tap it too hard. You want to be very gentle because it's two different sizes of powder. And that dark powder is bigger and chunkier. And you don't want to just knock it all off because that's the part that makes it look beachy. And when it melts, it just shimmers. It's a little bit golden. It's really beautiful embossing powder. So again, this is the Hero Arts sand embossing powder. And now I'm using my dauber. See, the dauber comes in handy because it would be difficult to get my embossing powder on here with a big blocky pad. So I'm happy that I have the dauber. It definitely comes in handy. Now, for the sake of speeding up this video, I already have things arranged. For the most part on these two cards. I brought in these smaller birds and filled that in, and I really love the two totally different perspectives that I was able to create on these two cards using pretty much the same materials. They both have the birds, the seashells, the embossing powder, the watercolor. But look how different they are, and they're both so beautiful. I can't possibly pick a favorite. I can't wait to see what the rest of the team makes. And if you are oh so inspired, then use the hashtag I was so and inspired. It'll be in the description too. Use that hashtag, and that way Alicia and all of us can see what inspired you and what you made. So that's a great way to play along and be a part of this collaboration. Okay, so now I'm tucking in my gold twine. If you've been watching me, you know I've been doing this a lot lately. I think all of us creators kind of get on a kick and do series of things. Well, this is my gold thread theory series. I am definitely on the gold thread kick. And I'm sorry, this came from a thrift store for 25 cents, like this whole spool of gold thread. So I don't know where it really came from. And then I have these Studio Katia flatback gold. They're not pearls because they're not pearl, they're metallic. Oh, but they're so cool. I just love them. So I added a few little gold pieces in here, and it was so funny. I hit that triangle and it spilt, and I liked where one of them landed, so I left it on right there. Whoops. So I ended up leaving that one on, and I cleaned up the rest. We had a friend who got engaged at a resort in Mexico, and I was thinking we could use one of these cards, like a congratulations on your engagement. I thought this one here on the right would be beautiful for that. They're a little bit older, so I didn't want to give them the other and imply like a stork or something. But I left these sentiment free so that they could be used for anything, birthdays, anniversaries, congratulations on your engagement, just whatever. I absolutely love them. I hope that you do too. I hope you're feeling inspired by now, by this design, or maybe the colors I used, or maybe the beach theme, or maybe the original card that Leslie made. That's amazing. You will find a lot more details in my description box, so you can check down there to see the collab team, to see Leslie's card, to see all of the things. Thanks so much for spending your time here with me. I hope you enjoyed this session, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.